Look, I'll be really honest with you. I wasn't going to make a video on this until I saw others talking about it. Cam, Saeed, many others. Go check out their channels. You'll all know the brilliant content they're making. And they're talking about this defensive record. And sometimes it's those who are a step away from the club. They're able to see what the real highlights are and what the really kind of big stories are. And I think when you're caught up in the momentum of making content around Arsenal, like doing a match report, which I did yesterday, like doing the reaction to having Palace in the next round, like a player ratings, which has just come out on the Goonerverse, although forgive me because the internet was quite poor on that, but you can still hear the audio quite well. When in the middle of doing all that, you kind of stop sometimes and maybe miss the really big headline. And when I say miss, we'd all said the words, Arsenal haven't conceded a goal in October. That's pretty brilliant. But actually stop and deep that for a second, because it's the other rival fans talking about it that has made me stop and go, no, we need to discuss this. Obviously, this is Goonerverse News. This is a news channel. But it is news that Arsenal have gone and done that. It is news that Arsenal are, I imagine, breaking records. I mean, at the time of recording this, I'm not sure when the last time was that a Premier League club did that. Go a whole calendar month without conceding a goal. And certainly over 6 games. That's the thing. When you look at the results, Arsenal have done it. It's typical now, I've lost the results. But Arsenal have done it with what? Palace at home, Brighton at home, Atletico at home, Fulham away. What are the results? Wait 1 second. West Ham at home is another one. Let me just quickly go to the Goonerverse, because I've got them all here in front of me. Memory's poor. Olympiacos 2-0, West Ham 2-0, Fulham 1-0, Atletico 4-0, Palace 1-0, Brighton 1-0. So that's actually 5 games. I only had 1 away game in 6, which I didn't even realise. But look, that is a tremendous set of results from Arsenal. Brighton are a team that can hurt you. That's probably the game in which we probably deserve to concede out of all of them. Palace, we know, are on terrific run of form. Atletico Madrid have quality and are one of the best teams in Europe, have real pedigree. We know Fulham are a side that can score goals, that can play good football. They've got talent, the likes of Iwobi, Smith Rowe, Raheem Jimenez up front, and others. West Ham, you never know, a Bowen, a Paqueta. I mean, they've gone and won their last 2 games at the Emirates before this game we played, what was that, a month ago, or start of October. And yeah, the Olympiacos, I mean, they actually caused us some problems in that game too. But, you know, I need to reiterate this point that I made on Inside Gooners, that I made on Loose Cannons, that I said on the Goonerverse podcast. I am so used to, I've grown up with the soft underbelly talk around Arsenal. The conversation of, you know, you can get at these guys. They're mentally weak. They're physically weak. You can bully them. And for the narrative now, funnily enough, now no one's happy with our style of play, right? But for the narrative now to be, my word, how do we beat Arsenal? Actually, no, how do we draw against them? Actually, forget that. How do we score against this team? Wait a second. They're not allowing shots on goal. How do you shoot on target against this team? That's what Arsenal have got to. That's the stranglehold they've had oppositions in. At a point of wondering, how do we even ask enough questions in the hope we get a goal, let alone that be enough for a point or a win? And that's where Arsenal have been so unbelievably impressive. The clean sheets is one thing. I remember we had an amazing record with Koscielny and Mertesacker as a centre-back partnership. When they started, I think we had a load of clean sheets. We hadn't lost in ages. Do you remember that graphic doing the rounds of Sky Sports? It was, you know, just a record of those two together. But they were never, ever as formidable and as solid as this group. I know we're talking about one partnership there, but I wouldn't put them up against any centre-back pairing that we can put together now. Honestly, I think any centre-back pairing you pick right now, Arsenal, is better than the Mertesacker-Koscielny pairing. Genuinely. Whether you go White and Capier, Gabriel Mosquera, Saliba Calafiori, whoever I just listed 6 different pairings there. Whoever you go with, Timber can even play centre-back. Whoever you go with, I think it's a better pairing than what we had at that time, and a better pairing than I've ever grown up on, because the way Mikel Arteta's readdressed his back four is absolutely sensational. So they go on this amazing run, 6 games with 12 goals scored, 0 conceded. We've won every single one of them. It's an unbelievable return. And what these big content creators like Cams and Said and many others are asking is, that 15-goal record held by Chelsea, is it reachable? Now, Arsenal are on course for it. I've always felt that while the Invincibles is a more impressive record and probably the one that's going to be harder to beat, I've always thought, don't joke about this 15-goal record Chelsea have. It's unbelievable. And I think Arsenal at one point in their history only conceded 17 goals in a league campaign. But 15 is an absolute joke. 15 in 38 games. Unbelievable. I think Arsenal are capable of doing it, but it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some unbelievable effort. But it's really interesting that when people are talking about Arsenal at the moment, they're not really talking about, the title. I mean, they are talking about the title because we're leading the way. But they're talking about these other records, these other kind of records that are attached to serious history makers. Even last week there was talk whether Arsenal could do the double. And part of me is like, let's just slow down, right? Because I would take winning the league if we conceded 41 goals like Liverpool did last season. I would take winning just one of the majors. And if we finish second, my word, we need a trophy anyway. All of those will be better seasons than we've enjoyed in the last few years. But when you see in 23-24, Arsenal already broke their record, I think, for most wins in a Premier League campaign and most goals scored, which was better than the Invincibles. I'm pretty sure they bettered those. We didn't get more points. The Invincibles got 90. We got 89. The fact that this team have already been on kind of the brink of history and so close to that kind of thing, but haven't, and they've had like a big night like a Real Madrid and whatever, but they haven't actually got the big silverware to show for it, is what's the biggest shame here. This team, this group, is one that have actually put together sensational numbers. 16 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. The XG numbers, all XG against, all this stuff suggests to you that this is a team that is surely going to get over the line at some point. They just haven't. But that defensive record is now one that people are eyeing up. And the question that I asked on TalkSport last week when I was on the Goal Show, Saliba and Gabriel, people are talking about them. I think Cam said, this is one of the best units I've seen in the Premier League ever, and I don't need to see them win a title to know that. And he wasn't just talking about the partnership, he was talking about the whole collective. And that's the kind of potential conversation that some of these players are in, but I really hope they get a trophy to show for it. They deserve it. They really deserve it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Will Arsenal, can they beat that Chelsea record? Will Arsenal get over the line and win one of these major trophies? Could they win multiple in 1 year, which would be unbelievable after years of not winning any? I still think the attacking football needs to improve, but we've got a lot of players missing, which will be having an impact on that. And I think ultimately, sure, we might need a little bit more in the attacking third, but in the defensive third, I've never known better. And I don't just mean at Arsenal. I don't think I've ever known a better collective defensive unit in the years that I've watched the Premier League. Yes, I've seen Mourinho sides, but I wasn't watching football when I saw them that year they got the 15 goals conceded. And I've seen some great defensive units. And defending rears its head in many ways. For example, Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, they defended brilliantly with an incredible high press. That is a form of terrific defending. Man City kept the ball relentlessly at their best under Pep Guardiola. That's also a form of defending. Arsenal, I think, are a team that have the collective capacity to do it all. They can high press, they can mid block, they can low block, they can kill you with 1,000 passes. And I think that's why I can sit here quite smugly, actually, and say that I've never known a better defensive collective than this. And it goes from the manager to the goalkeeper to the defender to the coaching staff to the midfield to the work rate at the front three. Everybody's involved. So congrats to Arteta, congrats to the staff, congrats to the players for building something that we look at and genuinely feel proud of as Arsenal fans. But we need silverware. It needs to amount to something, or people won't really remember it, or they will, but it will always be with a caveat of, but they never won it. Let's hope they do that, because they're playing at a level, they're breaking records, they're doing things that merit the big honours. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. I just thought others inspired me to make this video to talk about how impressive it is what Arsenal are doing defensively. And it's pretty insane what they're doing. So shout out to the team for that. Like I said, player ratings is out on the channel, but the internet was a bit poor, so sorry about that. We're going to find a way to work around that in future. We're still improving everything on that end. But thank you for tuning in. Reaction to Palace in the quarters and beating Brighton in the last round is all out here on Goonerverse. News to look out for that. All right, big thanks. Catch you in a bit.